Welcome back. The African growth story is compelling for investors, but is the window of opportunity still wide open, or is it starting to close? A retailer said years ago that if you're not in Africa already, you've basically missed the bus. Well, let's get a view from Old Mutual Investment Group that recently announced it will be increasing its Africa footprint by a further $1 billion in sustainable investments. Old Mutual says it's the largest private sector investor in Africa. It's well established in southern and eastern Africa. Now it has its eyes on the west, on Nigeria. To discuss, we're joined by Old Mutual's Craig Chambers. He's with us from our studio in Cape Town. Good evening to you, Craig. Years ago, there was this buzz about Africa, and of course, every country is different. We do know that the cost of doing business has gone up. A lot of companies are so well established and taking up some markets. Do you think that window of opportunity is still wide open, though?
Yeah, absolutely, Francis. We think the growth story in Africa has really just begun. In fact, over the last 5 years at Old Mutual Investment Group, we have invested significantly in many different capabilities, from Africa to agriculture to private equity and to listed equity, specifically to invest in the rest of Africa. And we think that those GDP forecasts in the order of 5 and 6% in Nigeria, for example, are as forecast by the World Bank right through to 2017, will certainly be achieved, and that the growth story in Africa has a long way to go.
Let me understand this. Do investors in Old Mutual, can they benefit? Do you have unit trusts, I don't know, exposed to what's happening in Africa, or is this Old Mutual investing?
Yeah, I think there's two components to our Africa growth strategy. The first is the more corporate group strategy, where our CEO has specifically stated publicly that we've committed $500 million, about 5 billion rand, to increasing our growth footprint in Africa, mainly in West and East Africa. From the Old Mutual Investment Group perspective, on the other hand, what we've done is we've invested internal assets of about 500 million as well, to essentially invest alongside our third-party institutional investors, to allow them to invest in these capabilities I've mentioned, such as farming and infrastructure, private equity, real estate, for example, on the continent as well. So it's a combination of both. It's a combination of investing alongside and essentially putting our money where our mouth is, and also looking for M&A activity and organic growth opportunities through the corporate side of the business.
And you say this will be sustainable projects. So just give me more. And I was interested, I think Umtad was saying that intra-African trade is growing. Of course, South Africa leads that. But we're not interested in the big resources projects anymore. There's a whole lot of other things that can help the development of countries. Or, I mean, you get involved in whole new markets, creating jobs, things like that. Is it exciting because we are involved in that development?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a great case in point would be the launch of our Africa Infrastructure Fund. Africa has 60% of the world's arable land, and a lot of that land isn't cultivated. And the opportunities there really are vast. So if you look at, for example, the amount of global multinational food companies that are establishing presences in Africa, they would like raw materials to be sourced from there domestically in those particular countries, as opposed to importing them. And as a result, we're able to purchase farms, specifically make sure that they're run by operators that sign dollar leases, and then we go in when we assist in the actual improvement of the productivity of the particular farm, and make sure that we can assist right across the value chain, including selling the offtake to the global multinationals. And as a result, we can generate dollar yields for our investors, and also improve the job prospects in the region. In fact, 0.5% of our investment capital every year is spent on improved housing, healthcare, adult basic education. Our view is that a happy workforce will generate higher productivity from a farmland perspective. So there's no doubt that Africa is really the breadbasket for the rest of the world, really. with 225,000 people being added to the global population every day. There's no doubt that agriculture in Africa has really just started, and we've pioneered that particular space since the launch of our first fund.
Very
4
quickly,
years ago.
Craig, final question. Is there more realism about the returns, though? Because it used to be this sense of huge risk, but massive reward. And I think people are being more realistic. So you will make money, but it won't be a huge boon, especially in the first few years.
I think what's important to understand is that a lot of the investments that we look at are from a 10-year perspective. So you've got to have a long-term view on Africa. The analysis that we've done shows that infrastructure, farming and real estate probably will generate the best bang for your buck relative to the risk levels. And then as you move up the risk spectrum, certainly private equity in Africa will generate a good kicker for a portfolio, and listed equity as well. So I think you need a blend of African investments, and that's really the way in which we engage with our large clients, especially the global sovereign wealth funds.
Thank you very much, Old Mutual's Craig Chambers. And let's stay on the continent. Zimbabwe's central bank has introduced